Okay, hello everyone. Just sitting out here in nature. So, I just wanted to talk about organic portals. And I've made a lot of videos. We're up to 250 videos on this channel right now. So, I thought I may as well continue to speak about this and make just a video on like an overview. So I'm just trying to get my arm comfortable on the rest hold here. So, they're flesh pawns for the demon world, and, people call that things like the vital realm. You'll hear people call it the fourth dimension. And actually, even more advanced people will understand, in each dimension, there's different entity basis and, like different demons, basically. And, I was reading something recently by, I think, Aristotle or Socrates, I can't remember, but one of them has a quote, character is demon. That's interesting, right? Because the ego, character, ego, frontal lobe, which, by the way, psychedelics mutes it in the right way, not like a frontal lobotomy, but, close enough, but in the right way so that you, not in your self-identification of your everyday life. So hence, you're less the body and more your spirit. And what are organic portals? Spiritless humans, right? Soulless, spiritless humans, right? So, the whole inward ingression and inversion, or indigo evolution, as people call it, in the id go, in the highest self. The id is from Buddhism, a concept of the higher self, and the steward of the light body, and the ego is the steward of, again, the physical anthropoid monkey body, which is what all they are. And that's why they go around so over pragmatically, on reality. Like, I remember having conversations with people who are organic portals about science. In 2014, there was this guy, he was like 50 or 60, an aficionado of science, but he couldn't tell me dick all on his own behalf. He couldn't tell me anything on his own behalf at all. And this is the organic portal state. Pardon me. And what I found funny was I was talking to him about science, and I was very versed at the time in science. In like 2014, I was quite versed in the latest discoveries and so on. A good website, by the way, is phys.org.com. I don't like Science Daily, all those other ones. All those ones, they create the article very glib, and they dumb it down too much, and it's not informationally like, deep and dense, and complex. But anyway, I remember talking to this guy, and once we got into the quantum mechanics end of things, indeed, he broke down. Like, quantum mechanics seems to break down this macro-physical. Isn't it odd? From this perspective of the ego. And you see, it's odd from the perspective of the ego and the body, because it's part of this surface virus that is disconnected. Now, remember, the organic portals, they steal or harvest our energy because they are disconnected from source, right? Or from the Tao. The concept from Taoism is that there's a holy flow, and that there is evolution, basically. I mean, if we have to say the word fossil one more time to you religious people, I think I'm going to call it a day. You make me want to be nihilistic. Anyway, so, these organic portals, they're just that surface virus that is disconnected. That's why they're always looking for information. That's why they steal our ideas. That's why they implement them against us. Because they even know that, they've got nothing, and here comes the souls, all the souls vectoring, piercing the dark veil of the organic portal surface virus. But they know they need to, basically block you because they know they don't have ideas. If they're a third dimensional reached consciousness, which has to do with the ego identity and self-identity, which is the seed point of sovereignty. This is where we are up to in our dimensional consciousness. Now we are moving to a fourth dimensional feeling body. Empaths are everywhere, right? Everyone's going, I'm an empath this, empath that, right? And that's accepting the fourth dimensional feeling body. But then we're quickly onto the fifth dimensional telepathic light body. And I'll explain the dimensions more as I go. I'm currently writing a book called The Eschaton 2012, what actually happened and, what it's all actually about. Because it wasn't about fire and brimstone, did you notice? The world, physically is still here. You remember all those like New Age type hippies who were going, oh, we're going to ascend, we're like going somewhere else. This world's just going to be taken over by a tidal wave and everyone's dead. You remember that? That was there. And, people mistook levitation as well. It's being joyful and levitational, right? It's not, we're going to hover 1 foot off the ground in lotus position. So, anyway. So, the organic portals, they're part of this surface virus and they don't know. So they're in the spiritual movements as well. That's why I made videos called Spiritless Humans in the Spiritual Movement, because they are in the spiritual movement too, So, they don't beat to the heart of nature. They don't have their earth heart synced with the earth, and you have to go through the earth to the stars, as I say it, or to the sun, and they don't have that solar consciousness. That was another video I was just thinking of. I made like almost 10 years ago now or something, I don't know, like 7 years ago, and I was talking about solar consciousness, but I was just thinking about how that relates to organic portals as just their body and ego. And the ego always continues to seek separation. It's a seed point of sovereignty. And in sovereignty, there is the idea of separateness, right? Because think about what sovereignty means. You're trying to say, okay, I'm me, myself, away from all that. I take care of myself, I express through myself, and so on and so forth. You're vertically then spiritual, not horizontally on the surface, made up of other people's thoughts, you see. That's what they are, and that's what the surface virus has become. An unknowing cross-current to the Tao, the vector of the universe, So that's basically it. They're like a cross-current to this flow, and it's an unconscious state. That's why they're always trying to steal our energy, information, ideas, and so on, because they're disconnected from source. I don't know. Just wanted to put that, in this idea of an overview of organic portals, this video, basically. I'm just going to title this video Organic Portals for that reason, just to have, an overview. Yeah, they want to make this place hell. I don't think we're in hell, because as soon as I connect, and the instantaneous connection of negative charge when I stand barefoot on the earth takes instantaneously away all the pain in my body, slowly, but instantaneously you feel the connection. over the next hour, all the pain recedes, resides, and is expelled. Depending how well you breathe, you can speed up the expulsion of these positive charged gases trapped in your body. And you don't feel as much pain, right? You end up going painless, right? And that brings you out of this pain body, this surface virus, disconnected, static positron, positive charge. The positrons are seemingly like a static layer. So it's very relative to the organic portals and how they are, how they behave, and that's why I talk about it. That's why I mention grounding, because they also, via the demons coming through them, insert into you, right, negative entity implants. They're not necessarily a physical chip, right? The alien didn't come down, zooming down in its 1,000 million ton beryllium ship, little Xenebelcanusian, green alien, and then go blip in the middle of the night. That's not how it's going down. These are energetic implants, right? There may be physical stuff, but I don't know, guys. I look at all the videos on the internet as an IT professional or semi-professional, a graduate of an IT degree, and I look at these videos and I know from myself, from being in good software, what you can do on videos. It's amazing, some of the software I was shown by my lecturers that I don't have now. That's why I need your energy, your donations, yeah? Because I want to work for you, like the people, obviously the souls, but you know what I mean. I want to work for the constituency, which is the people en masse, because that's where the power in the world lay. That's why, the presidents are so powerful, because they can walk anywhere and everyone's like, oh, I laud you. They're giving their power across to them. I'm physically, tangibly asking you and making a point of getting your energy, but for a reason, so that we can, change the world in the right way and do stuff, right? And so I can, show you certain things and teach you certain things. And I'm going to make another video, actually it's already made, I'm going to upload it, called Organic Portal Power 2. And, I wanted to talk about how, as a surface virus, and if you realize what the third dimension is, where light is reversed into locality quadrants, or these particles, then you realize also, and relate it to the third dimensional ego as like a box, and you realize that's what a third dimension is, a zonal reality in all contexts. It's always a zonal reality. And that's why the ego mind is separated and continues to seek to separate, because it is a separated like form. And it's even in sovereignty, and that's why I was saying that's another explanation, seed point of sovereignty. If the organic portal reaches that far, they have some little bit of consciousness, it seems. But then what happens is, for, the more advanced human, is you get cosmic truth. And if you manage to work it all the way through, or integrate your psychedelic experience all the way through to the frontal lobe, it becomes part of, your proper identity, you see. It's like you've downloaded the cosmic truth the whole way. And, that's the qualified ego, what people like me have, spiritual people. We're striving for that, the qualified ego, to qualify it. Because you're not going to get rid of your sovereignty and your individual nature, because if you're a souled human, because, you are a specific frequency and conglomerate of resonances and frequencies. So you're just naturally individualistic. You can't get rid of it, basically. What was I saying? Yeah, so that, they think inside the box, and it's a disconnected state. And so if you imagine a box, maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a random analogy up. I love to do it. I haven't thought of this. Let's do it. Imagine a box and you poke a hole into it, right? The light streams in there. And this is like, the third dimensional ego and qualifying it, okay? Like you start to put light into it, basically. What was I going to say? There's a good point. Okay, there's a good point. I was looking away while I was thinking, and years ago I read an article that said indigos, specifically it said this, no, it didn't. It said it said ADHD people, and I've related that to indigos. But ADHD people look away or need to look away when they're thinking. Like when I look away from you, you look at, if you're an organic portal, you're very physical and you're like, oh, why are they looking away from me now? You think that I'm being avoidant, you know, or like thinking up a lie or something. When in actual fact, what's happening is I'm trying to concentrate on my vision. And if I'm talking to you, I'm seeing your features and, you know, my brain is scanning your face and so on. So I have to look away, you understand? And I remember I was reading that article years ago and it said that ADHD people look away, you know, in conversation to think. And this just, I brought this up because this made me think of a next point to explain on organic portals and how they are just on the surface level of life, which is this physical, what you see here, you know, the edge. The physical edge is the second dimensional, third dimensional, like physical, when you hit something, you feel it, right? The physical edge, you see. You know, very tangible nature, right? And on the surface is where the sense stored electrical waves and the electrons are exchanging the packets. It's within the electrons, within the particles, within, right, that we go inward, onward, and upward and are the higher intangible dimensions, right? So they're tangible people. They're very over-pragmatic, very over-tangible. And this is what I wanted to, I think, really discuss in this video, because it's an overview way to begin to see the organic portal. To, you know, like a meta discernment razor to cut up who you're dealing with to see, you know, is this person an organic portal? What are they? And so, what was I saying? Oh, that's so interesting. I love when this happens. I just heard people across there, and that's very funny that it only happens at midday and when I'm speaking loudly, because they've got an obsession here with spying on me and gang stalking here at the camping. You're going to see a ton of videos. You're going to see why I put up that there, my gang stalking fence. And there's a track there, and now I can hear people behind me. So, to you, I know what you're doing because of the timing and how they look at me. Anyway, that's awesome. And they shut right up, didn't they? Yeah, anyway, that was a perfect distraction right when I was in depth, you see. That was some gang stalking right there, full distraction. I love when that happens. I just love my synchronicity. You know, the confirmations, the spiritual confirmations. Although they make you feel good, you know, they make you realize that you're not insane as well. So what was I saying? I was saying organic portals, surface and box. Yeah, they're very tangible people, you know. That's why I mentioned earlier the thing of the science, the guy I was talking to about the science conversation, and as soon as we went into quantum mechanics, he couldn't handle it anymore. There was no conversation anymore. I didn't like win a conversation or something. He just couldn't continue, you know, and yeah, basically then I started saying certain things to make him be upset as well, to make him realize why he couldn't continue. You know, I was vouching for the unseen, the underdog again. And yeah, so I just wanted to say, you know, they're very pragmatic surface people, and matter is dead. It's, you know, we look at matter like it's a prison, or the matter prison, the chrysalis of matter, and we've got to like escape it, you know. That is a kind of valid viewpoint. It does seem to be part of what's occurring. Like, I'm just thinking in my head right now about the down-dimensional interdensity creation process, but what I was just mentioning is like some sort of like upload instead of download or something, you know? I've heard someone say before that we are simultaneously creating the upper dimensions in a way. So it's interesting. And, you know, then there's people who say, pardon me, then there's people who say that, you know, a souled human, and like if you're vectoring in your life to escape matrix, that's what it feels like, then what seems to happen is if you get your appointment with infinity and you're properly saved, then, you know, the universe at the fifth dimensional wall, basically, and that's why it's the acacia, because that's where all the information is, you know, dropped off. And that's the last real physical, tangible place, the fifth dimension, because the sixth dimension is, you know, sacred geometrical infinite archetypes and all this, and design templates. But that's intangible already. You can only work out what they are via backward, upward dimensional inferral and deduction. You know, you can't grab it and go, here it is. It's like Fibonacci in that, you know. It does have physical form consequences, but it itself is like, you know, intangible. You know, we tangibilize it by numbers, but I think you understand what I'm saying there. Like these archetypes and stuff like that. It's not something, you know, it creates form, but it's not in form. It's intangible. Right? And what's interesting is that's why they never get this stuff, and that's why, you know, they can't understand higher knowledge properly. If you can't come to grip with, you know, the universal intangible parts, and that there are intangible parts, well, you're never going to be able to figure out the universe and become fully conscious, or you're never going to be able to your advancement is going to start to really be seen as slow as it is. You know, I remember people saying we are just way ahead right now. Who was saying that? I can't remember. Oh, it was David Wolf talking about like health stuff. He was saying how far ahead we are. And I was like, yeah, I get what he means, you know, how far away we are from pill consciousness, for instance. The people who go, oh, I'm sick, I better go get a pill from the pharmacy. You know, pill consciousness, or not healing the cause, but healing symptomology. That's pill consciousness, right? That's, again, over-pragmatization. You see that very tangible thought, and indoctrination, brainwash, etc. as well, obviously. But I just want to focus on that over-tangibilization of their mindset, so to speak. So, you know, matter is dead. When someone trips, look, I'm a shaman, in uniform today. So when someone trips, I've talked to a lot of trippers, you know what I'm saying? I've met with my fair share of trippers, eh? And you know when someone says to you, "Oh, it felt more real than here," you know, they say that, they're like, "Oh man, yeah, that was a far out trip. That felt more real than here." You've heard people say that kind of thing. It's because the upper dimensions are more essence and more life force, right, and more filled with actual life. And it seems that life is the light. And even Jesus, I'm not religious, but even Jesus said, you know, the light itself, of consciousness itself, is God. Like he's not saying, you know, God's a guy projecting the light. The light itself is God, and that is the light of consciousness. That's this whole conscious revolution at the end of human history. We've been saying, no, it's not a clump brain that produces, you know, the consciousness right here, that it's more like a conduit, right? And for them, it's not like that. They don't have that flow. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. They are that static, dense surface of dead matter and, you know, the chrysalis of matter, but that's it. They are that structure. And it's also said that the family of dark, you know, holds the structure for the family of light to be able to, or for the family of light to transverse their way home to the family of love. These are the three universal families in our universe. So, you know, they're always structure, but not the stuff that animates the structure. So they're kind of like inanimate objects, and that's why we refer to them as matrix infrastructure. You know, 2D or second dimension is frozen cosmic music, but in that frozenness is a type of deadness, is what I'm trying to say as well. So, and again, back to that thing, how people report off their trips, oh, what a psychedelic trip, man, that was more real than, you know, here in physical stuff. And that's what they're talking about, you know, they're just feeling that truth of that, you know, the more you go in towards that, you know, light of God, the more you feel levitation, life, health, I don't know, all vitality, you know, so on and so forth. So, you know, they're the opposite to all this. That's why we call them dead zombie people and so on, and dead people, you know, because that life force is missing. I've also talked about chi, which, you know, they call life force energy in other videos, and vibration or frame rate, fifth dimensional frame rate versus being stuck, bogged down in the chrysalis of matter, and the positrons slow you down. I move much quicker, much more nimble and agile after grounding and when I'm negatively charged. By the way, the negative charge aligns 1 anion, aligns 1 million water particles, and then you can think of the light can then transverse properly your structure, your cellular structure, then you're made less of the parasites of the surface world. Think about that connection. You know, some people even say that, I've heard people say that Jesus, you know, as an old world shaman used to say that they used to put gourd pumpkin, you know, the top of a gourd pumpkin, and scrape out the worms in your ass. They used to say that, you know, those parasites are associated with the archons. Interesting, like real world physical worms in your stomach, right? So when you're more your cellular structure connected to earth, electrically connected to everything that is, by taking off your shoes, you do in spirit more, you do in soul more. That video I made wasn't just a joke, organic portal explanation for organic portals. It has deep, deep meaning. Just because I laugh and I have a good time doesn't mean it's not true.